Welcome to College Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: a new app could tell if you are too drunk to drive home, how one patient found errors in the algorithm making transplant decisions, how global chaos has given Kim Jong-un a stronger hand, Sydney University student loses chunk of ear in attack, Amos has 118 yards, 2 TDs, Miami blanks Akron 19-0. A new app could tell if you are too drunk to drive home. Telegraph. Scientists at Stanford University have developed a smartphone app that can tell if a user is too drunk to drive. The app uses the phone's microphone to determine the user's level of intoxication by analyzing voice patterns while reciting tongue twisters. A small study of 18 adults was conducted in which participants were asked to recite random tongue twisters before and after drinking a specific amount of alcohol. The app analyzed the voice patterns to predict intoxication levels. The researchers claim the app is 98% accurate. The technology could be used to monitor levels of drunkenness over an evening or as a measure to stop a person driving a car or motorbike if they are too drunk. How one patient found errors in the algorithm making transplant decisions. Financial Times. A complex algorithm used by the UK's National Health Service to allocate donor livers is leaving younger patients at a disadvantage, according to an investigation by the Financial Times, FT. The allocation system, known as the National Liver Offering Scheme, uses an algorithm known as the Transplant Benefit Score, TBS, which is calculated using 28 variables from both the donor and recipient. The highest scoring patient is offered the liver in question. However, the FT found that younger patients were waiting far longer than older ones, with the gap between the two groups increasing from 40 days to 156 days after the scheme was introduced. The paper also discovered that the TBS was being used to allocate livers to patients without their knowledge. How global chaos has given Kim Jong-un a stronger hand. Financial Times. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has managed to survive the challenges posed by former U.S. President Donald Trump, international sanctions, and the COVID-19 pandemic, leading to a sense of triumph and growing confidence. Kim has strengthened his regime's grip on power, tightened border controls, and passed legislation to deter the distribution and consumption of foreign media. He has also formed strong alliances with Russia and China, who have become increasingly willing to support North Korea and ask for very little in return. This has allowed Kim to continue his nuclear weapons development and benefit from a limited resumption of trade. Sydney University student loses chunk of ear in attack. The Sydney Morning Herald. A student at the University of Sydney has had part of his ear bitten off during an alleged attack at St. Paul's College. The incident occurred at 10:30 p.m. on October 29 and the student was taken to Royal Prince Alfred Hospital. Police are investigating the incident. The student is now recovering after being discharged from hospital. The incident is believed to have taken place at another residential college, St. Andrews, following a social event at the student bar. Amos has 118 yards, 2 TDs, Miami blanks Akron 19-0. Associated Press. Miami, Ohio, defeated Akron 19-0 in a Mid-American Conference matchup. Rashad Amos led the way for the Redhawks with 118 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. The Miami defense held Akron to just 212 total yards and recorded their second shutout of the season. Miami kicker Graham Nicholson missed his first point-after attempt of the season but made up for it with 2 field goals. Miami's defense was led by Yasin McKee, who had 10 tackles and an interception, and Ty Wise, who recorded 3 sacks. Matt Salopek also had a strong game with 9 tackles and 1 sack. Akron quarterback Jeff Undercuffler threw for 156 yards and 2 interceptions before leaving the game with an injury. The Zips only managed 36 yards rushing. Fort scores 21 to lead Mississippi State over Sun Devils 71-56 in season opener for both. Associated Press. Mississippi State defeated Arizona State 71-56 in their season opener. Junior college transfer Trey Fort led Mississippi State with 21 points, including 6 three-pointers. West Virginia graduate transfer Jimmy Bell added 13 points. Mississippi State was missing its top 2 scorers from last season, Shaquille Moore and Tolu Smith, who were both unavailable due to team rules and injury, respectively. The Bulldogs, who were the worst three-point shooting team in Division I last season, made 10 of 26 from beyond the arc in the game. Arizona State, with 7 Division I transfers on their roster, was led by Kamari Lands with 13 points. Iriafan has career highs of 23 points, 13 rebounds. Number 15 Stanford women roll past Hawaii 87-40. Associated Press. Number 15 Stanford defeated Hawaii 87-40 in their season opener. Kiki Iriafen led Stanford with 23 points and 13 rebounds, while freshman Nunu Agara added 18 points in her debut. The Cardinal shot 48.5% from the field and had a dominant advantage on the boards, out-rebounding Hawaii 60-18. Stanford's win marked their 25th consecutive home opener victory. There's a crushing political consensus that Britain's destiny is to be poor. Telegraph. The greatest barrier to Britain's prosperity is the unwillingness of policymakers to make hard decisions, according to an op-ed in The Telegraph. The author argues that the problems facing the UK, such as low growth rates, can be attributed to a lack of productivity. They claim that the planning system is blocking the construction of housing and other buildings, choking off growth. The author also highlights the low levels of business investment in the UK and the high tax burden as contributing factors to the country's economic underperformance. They argue that policymakers could fix these issues by making technocratic changes, such as making tax relief on capital investment permanent, or by taking more drastic measures, such as cutting taxes or reducing the burden of net zero policies on electricity prices. However, the author suggests that politicians are unwilling to take these steps, resulting in the continuation of the high-tax, high-spend model and a lack of progress. Smartphones may be able to detect how drunk a person is with 98% accuracy. The Independent. A study involving smartphone sensors has found that changes in a person's voice can predict their level of intoxication with 98% accuracy. The researchers were able to analyze voice patterns to determine how drunk a person was, which could lead to just-in-time interventions to prevent alcohol-related injuries. The scientists are now keen to investigate other behaviors, such as walking and texting, to determine intoxication levels. Although larger studies are needed to confirm the validity of the findings, the researchers believe their work could save lives in the future. Neck deep in freezing water in West End, I wanted the cold truth. The Sydney Morning Herald. The author of this article reflects on her experience with various wellness trends throughout her life, from the weight loss industry boom of the 90s to the emergence of the wellness industry in recent years. She discusses the demonization of certain foods and the rise of self-made health and fitness influencers. The author also explores the commodification of wellness and the growth of the industry, citing the success of flotation therapy as an example. The author concludes by pondering the future of wellness culture and expressing her belief that society will become even more obsessed with health in the coming years. The man charged in last year's attack against Nancy Pelosi's husband goes to trial in San Francisco. The Independent. David DePape, the man accused of assaulting former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer and attempting to kidnap her, went on trial on Thursday. Prosecutors say DePape assaulted Paul Pelosi a few days before the 2022 midterm elections. The attack highlighted how conspiracy theories and misinformation can fuel political violence, as DePape posted rants online about aliens, communists, and QAnon. DePape, a Canadian citizen who moved to the U.S. 20 years ago, had been struggling with drug abuse and mental illness. If convicted, he faces life in prison. Rutgers head coach Greg Schiano wants his team to participate in the Iowa Children's Hospital Wave tradition. Yahoo! Rutgers football head coach Greg Schiano has stated that he is on board for his team to participate in the Iowa Wave tradition. The Iowa Wave is when Iowa fans at the end of the first quarter wave to patients inside the University of Iowa Children's Hospital, located across the street from the football stadium. Schiano sees this tradition as much bigger than football, saying if that can give some joy to some young people that are struggling and their families, right? I mean, anybody who's got kids knows that you're only as happy as your saddest kid. Toledo beats Eastern Michigan 49-23 to clinch the MAC West Division title. Associated Press. Toledo defeated Eastern Michigan 49-23 on Wednesday night to win the Mid-American Conference West Division title. Quarterback Daquan Finn threw for 407 yards and 3 touchdowns, while running back Penny Boone rushed for 3 touchdowns. Toledo has now won 9 straight games, securing a spot in the MAC championship game. Eastern Michigan was held to only 9 first downs and 106 total yards in the first half. Keith has career night. Orth accounts for 3 TDs in Bowling Green 49-19 win over Kent State. Associated Press. Bowling Green defeated Kent State 49-19 in a college football game on Wednesday night, securing their 4th consecutive win and making them bowl eligible. Taron Keith had an outstanding performance, surpassing 100 yards in both rushing and receiving and scoring touchdowns in both ways. With Bowling Green's leading rusher Turion Stewart out due to injury, Keith stepped up with career highs of 130 yards receiving and 103 rushing. The Falcons had a 28-6 lead at halftime and went on to secure the victory. This one marks the first time since 2015 that Bowling Green has won 4 straight games. Thousands of SA teachers rally for better pay, conditions at second strike in months. ABC. Thousands of public school teachers in South Australia have gone on strike after rejecting a third pay offer from the state government. The Australian Education Union, AEU, is seeking an 8.6% pay rise in the first year of the new enterprise agreement, compared to the government's offer of a 4% pay rise in the first year. The strike has led to the closure of more than 170 schools and preschools across the state. AEU-SA branch president Andrew Goll said that the latest offer was meager and did not address workload concerns or retention issues in the sector. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the sixth dimension. It's time for another edition of 6 Degrees Briefing, where we bring you the latest news from all corners of the world. So, let's dive right in. First up, we have a fascinating story from Stanford University, where scientists have developed a smartphone app that can tell if you're too drunk to drive. Yes, you heard that right. This app uses voice patterns to determine your level of intoxication. So, next time you're out partying, just recite a tongue twister into your phone, and voila, you'll know if it's safe to get behind the wheel. But remember, folks, always drink responsibly. In other news, it seems that even algorithms can make mistakes. The UK's National Health Service is facing criticism for using an algorithm that disadvantages younger patients in liver transplant decisions. The algorithm, known as the Transplant Benefit Score, allocates livers based on a patient's score, but it seems that younger patients are waiting longer than their older counterparts. It's a reminder that even in the age of advanced technology, we still need to question and improve our systems. Moving on to international affairs, it seems that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is having a bit of a winning streak. Despite facing challenges from former U.S. President Donald Trump, international sanctions, and the COVID-19 pandemic, Kim has managed to strengthen his regime's grip on power. He's formed alliances with Russia and China, giving him the support he needs to continue his nuclear weapons development. It's a reminder that sometimes, even against the odds, things can go in your favor. Now, let's head down under, where a student at the University of Sydney had a rather unfortunate encounter. The student had part of his ear bitten off during an alleged attack at St. Paul's College. Ouch. The incident is under investigation, and we hope the student makes a full recovery. Remember, folks, violence is never the answer. In sports news, Miami, Ohio, had a commanding victory over Akron in a Mid-American Conference matchup. Rashad Amos led the way with 118 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Miami's defense was also on fire, holding Akron to just 212 total yards and recording their second shutout of the season. It's always great to see a team dominating on both offense and defense. And now, let's switch gears to college basketball. Number 15 Stanford had a resounding win over Hawaii in their season opener. Kiki Iriafen led the way with 23 points and 13 rebounds, while freshman Nunu Agara made an impressive debut with 18 points. Stanford's dominance on the boards was a key factor in their victory, out-rebounding Hawaii 60-18. Looks like Stanford is off to a strong start this season. In other news, The Telegraph is making a bold claim about Britain's future. According to an op-ed, the country's destiny is to be poor, and the blame lies with policymakers who are unwilling to make hard decisions. The author argues that low growth rates and other economic problems stem from a lack of productivity and highlights issues such as the planning system and low business investment. It's certainly a thought-provoking perspective on the state of the UK's economy. Now, let's talk about smartphones, the devices that seem to be able to do just about anything these days. According to a study, smartphones may be able to detect how drunk a person is with 98% accuracy. By analyzing voice patterns, researchers were able to determine intoxication levels. This could lead to interventions to prevent alcohol-related injuries. Just another reason to keep your phone close at hand. And finally, an article from the Sydney Morning Herald takes us on a journey through the world of wellness trends. From the weight loss industry boom of the 90s to the rise of self-made health influencers, the author reflects on how wellness has evolved over the years. They also explore the commodification of wellness and the industry's future. It's a fascinating look at how our obsession with health has shaped our culture. Well, that wraps up today's edition of 6 Degrees Briefing. I hope you've enjoyed our whirlwind tour through the latest news. Now, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you have any questions for me? Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.